Hello, my name is Jacob Burnside. I'm a sophomore majoring in construction engineering management. I'm here today to talk to you about my summer internship as well as a CEM program. So before I talk to you about my summer internship, I want to tell you why I chose CEM. When I was younger, my uncle worked for Balfour Beatty, and he did a hospital job in Pittsburgh, which is where I'm from. I was able to tour the job site and got immersed in the experience. I saw all the action from the heavy equipment rolling around to the laborers working on their specs of work. I was fascinated by the idea of building something that big and made me really excited. Also, when I was younger, I was very creative. I always got my hands on any kind of materials I could find and made any interesting or unique structure I could think of at the time. So when I got to Purdue, I still was up in the air of what engineering discipline I wanted to try out. So I attended all the seminars that we had to do in FYE. And when I went to the CEM seminar, I saw it was a very chill environment that wanted to test you and make you the best engineer you could be. So those are some reasons why I joined the CEM program. So I want to talk to you about how I got my first internship as a freshman last year. So I got accepted into the CEM program around mid-March last year, and not even a week later, I got a call from the CEM program talking about setting up my first meeting. So at that meeting, I gave them my resume, and they sent it out to other partners that work with the program. About a week later, I got an email from WebCore asking to set up my first interview with them. I did that in early April, and it was a pretty positive experience. It was very relaxing, not stressful. It was more me asking the questions to see if I was a good fit for them. I got a call back from them about 2 weeks later saying I did not get the position. So I did a few more interviews and contacted a few more companies. And then one day in late April, WebCore called me again and saying a position opened up, and if I want it, it's mine. So that is how I got my first internship. So this past summer, I worked for WebCore Builders, who is the second largest general contractor in the San Francisco Bay Area. They mainly work for commercial and residential as well as entertainment market sectors, and they have a very positive company culture with a lot of interactive clubs, and the whole faculty and staff want to see you as an employee strive for greatness and be the best engineer possible.
While working for WebCore was the Biosolids Digester Facilities Project, which was in the Bayview Hunters Point area of San Francisco. This was a heavy civil project that was being built in the federal plus government market sector. My project got moved from a concept phase to reality because the current wastewater facility was built in 1952 and treats 80% of San Francisco's wastewater. So a new facility needs to be put in place so we can ensure the sewer system continues to provide sustainable and reliable operations. While working on this project, the CMGC was a joint venture due to how big the project was. WebCore teamed up with MWH for the JV for the project. This project is supposed to be complete in about 8 years with the goals of creating a new wastewater system that converts wastewater into reusable fertilizer. On the project, I was sent through rotations with different teams on the project. I started with safety, where I sat through a lot of training such as environmental protection and lift certifications. I as well attended numerous safety walks and got to talk to laborers about how they exercise safety while working on the field. I then switched to quality control, or QC, which is where I observed inspections, created layouts of the site, as well as attended a lot of field coordination meetings. When I was with the project engineers, I got exposed to more of the management side, where I collected field time allocation hours for all the WebCore employees who were working on the field from February 2020 to August 2020. With the project managers, I spent most of my days in the office getting experience with submittals, RFIs, and change orders. Finally, I did my last rotation with the superintendents, where I attended field meetings with the subs, as well as recorded data on what was happening on the field each day. The lessons that I learned while doing my internship this summer is that communication is the most important thing when it comes to construction. I saw this when I was observing a tower crane operator and a person on the ground who were speaking over a radio, letting everyone know on the field that they were going to do a heavy lift of an object to an area where people were working. Communication is important because everyone needs to know what is happening around them in order to keep the job site safe and have an efficient workflow. I also learned to ask many questions. The purpose of an internship is to learn and grow, and the best way to do this is to ask questions about anything and learn from what people have to say. It is even a good idea to ask the same question to people who have different scopes of work on the project to see how the question revolves around them. The last lesson I learned is that you need to know what everyone does on the project because you need to know who to talk to about certain information if you have questions. For example, I was trying to figure out the drilling plan for the piles in the B600 area of my project, so I went to Malcolm Drilling, who was a subcontractor on the project, and asked where I could find their drilling plans. My greatest triumphs while working this summer was making a diagram of the pile plan of the B600 area. The rebar threads on the piles were messed up from the excavation of the area, so my job was to make a map of the locations of the bad rebar in each pile, sort of like the picture above, but I had to work with 250 piles. This took me about 2 weeks to complete because I had to go onto the field and count for each pile how many threads were damaged, as well as where they were located on each pile. Most piles had about 24 pieces of rebar, and on average 3 rebar threads were damaged per pile. Once I completed this, however, we were able to get an RFI out to see if we would be able to pour back the concrete on the piles. The RFI got approved, and I got to see about 50 piles get poured before I left. Another triumph I had was I got to climb a 280-foot tower crane and operate it, as you can see from the pictures above. This was a terrifying but really cool experience. Challenge during my internship this summer was my internship presentation. I was assigned a team of interns who were on my same project. We were tasked to produce a new innovative idea in the world of construction and how WebCore could implement it. This was a challenge for us because we had to generate an idea that was new and innovative but easy to implement. We discussed our options for about a week and then decided to go with our idea of WebCore implementing Spanish and English classes as training sessions. Many laborers that were on our project came from Hispanic backgrounds and spoke Spanish as their primary language. So our idea was for employees to sign up for language classes. WebCore would hire a teacher and they would go to different job sites and teach a Spanish or English class. The goal of this was to strengthen communication on the job site, as well as allow employees to learn a second language and use that as a resource in their careers. We thought this idea was easy to implement and very simple. We presented on it, and it went over very well. This project made me think of ideas that may not be the most tech innovative, but they can be just as creative. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed.